If you look out over the English city of Stoke-on-Trent, you see a dense mix of industrial zones and residential neighborhoods tightly packed together. It's a working-class city where close communities often rely heavily on the people around them. 18-year-old Megan Newton was deeply embedded in that community. She was exceptionally close with her mother, who considered her a best friend, and she had a clear vision for her future. She was studying at a local college, working to become the first person in her family to attend university, with the goal of becoming a sports therapist. Her ambition was matched by a proactive generosity. Back in primary school, when a young classmate arrived from China speaking no English, Megan took it upon herself to sit beside her and teach her basic words until she could communicate. As a teenager, she spent her weekends coaching a football team for girls under 7 years old, dedicating her free time to her city. April 19, 2019 began as a normal Friday. Megan spent the evening working a part-time shift here at a local fish and chip shop. Around 10:20 p.m., she finished her shift, walked back to her flat on Fletcher Road to get changed, and headed out for a night of dancing with her friends. The people who knew Megan best repeatedly pointed to the same trait. She had an impulse to help others and make them feel safe. Whether she was coaching kids or helping a classmate, her first instinct was to support those around her. That normalcy shattered a few hours after sunrise on Saturday morning. A neighbor walking outside Megan's apartment building noticed something on the ground near the entrance, a set of keys. When the neighbor looked closer, they realized the metal and the key ring were stained with blood. The neighbor handed the keys to the building staff, who used them to check on the flat. Inside, staff discovered Megan's body face down on her bed. She was naked, and she had been stabbed to death inside her own home. Megan's life was defined by the support she gave to others. The investigation into her murder focused on the moment that impulse met a peer accused of doing the exact opposite to another teenager. The suspect investigators identified was someone Megan had known since high school. 18-year-old Joseph Trevor was a talented semi-pro footballer who had secured a scholarship to play in America. He also came from an authority-driven household. Both of his parents were active police officers. But those who interacted with Joseph daily knew about his unpredictable temperament. He could be charismatic one day and hostile the next. More alarmingly, when he was 15, classmates had accused him of sexually assaulting another girl. Though he was never formally charged, the allegation was so widely known that his peers routinely referred to him as a predator. The behavioral records of the two teenagers were opposites. While Megan spent her adolescence protecting and teaching others, Joseph was recognized by his own classmates as a threat. This is a local police station, similar to where Joseph was taken on the night of the murder. He had been out at the same nightclub as Megan, but security caught him with ketamine. He was brought into custody, stripped of the drugs, and then released into the early hours of the morning. Joseph was afraid of his parents' reaction to his arrest and refused to go home. Stranded and intoxicated, he wandered back toward the nightclub, where he bumped into Megan on the street around 2:40 a.m. Megan listened to his situation. Recognizing that a peer was in trouble and had nowhere to go, she did exactly what she had done for her classmates years earlier. She offered him a safe place to stay, telling him he could sleep on the sofa in her flat. Once inside her apartment, Joseph betrayed that trust. He attempted to initiate sex, and when Megan rejected him, he turned to violence. He strangled her until she lost consciousness, raped her, and then stabbed her 9 times with a knife from her kitchen. Megan provided him with sanctuary to keep him off the street. Joseph responded to her rejection with lethal force, turning her act of kindness into a deadly trap. Joseph's movements were tracked by what investigators call a digital net, an overlapping web of surveillance that made an escape impossible. This map shows how security cameras covered nearly every exit and entrance surrounding the crime scene. The system captured the entire timeline. A camera in the hallway directly outside Megan's front door recorded the pair entering her flat together at 3:44 a.m. The same camera remained fixed on that door. 2 hours later, it recorded Joseph leaving the flat alone. After realizing he needed a key fob to open the main building door, he was seen re-enter in the crime scene to retrieve Megan's keys before finally exiting. Finally, street-level cameras tracked his path away from the building. He was recorded discarding the bloody keys on the pavement and looking directly down at his own blood-stained hands as he walked away. He left behind a continuous chain of evidence. Because of these recordings, detectives had their prime suspect identified in less than 24 hours. After leaving the apartment, Joseph walked to a highway overpass above the A500. He sat on the edge of the concrete bridge, his legs hanging over the busy road, while he contemplated suicide. A witness spotted him and called the police, who safely took him to a hospital. Once he was discharged, Joseph went home and sent a text message to his mother, admitting that he had done something bad. This sequence of events, dropping the keys on camera, the suicide attempt, and the confession sent only after his release, shows a man who was aware that his actions had been documented. The forensic net had already closed in around him before he ever reached that bridge. Inside the Crown Court, Joseph Trevor initially claimed he had a memory blackout to avoid the rape charges, despite the forensic evidence. He maintained this story for months, only changing his plea to guilty on the very first day of his trial. The judge sentenced Joseph Trevor to life in prison, with a minimum of 21 years served. While Joseph's life is now defined by the violence he committed, Megan's family worked to ensure her memory remained tied to her kindness. They raised funds for a memorial bench in a local park, placed so it overlooks the football pitches where she used to coach. Megan Newton's life ended because she offered help to someone who claimed to be in trouble. But her legacy is not the violence of that night. It is the permanent place she holds in her community as someone who protected others.